We all have to deal with repetitive tasks in our private life or our job. Applying a recorded macro is a great way to automate these repetitive tasks and finish them with one click. In this video, I'm going to show you how to record a macro in Excel, even as a complete beginner. Afterward, we will discuss different methods to run and activate a macro, how to manage and edit one or multiple macros, the difference between relative and absolute cell references, and then changes that happen to the document when saving and reopening it. Let's get started. Before we start recording a macro, you have to activate the Developer tab, which by default is hidden in Excel. Right-click on the ribbon, choose the Customize Ribbon option. Make sure that the Main tabs option is selected in the drop-down list. Click the check mark next to the Developer tab. Then press OK when you are finished. Go to the Developer tab. On the top left in the Code section, click on Record Macro button. A pop-up window will appear. Now I will name my macro, my first macro, and press Enter. Excel will complain here. In the pop-up window, 3 conditions for naming macros are mentioned. 1. Start with a letter or underscore, which means starting with numbers will cause an issue. 2. Spaces in the name are not allowed. You can remove them or replace them with an underscore. And 3. The macro name does not conflict with the name in the workbook. I will click OK. Excel takes me back to the macro name. So now enter a new macro name without space. Type in my first macro. The capital letters help to differentiate the words, and underscore is a good replacement for space between words. In this pop-up window we have further important options. Leave them for now. We will get back to them in the next section. Press OK. Now the macro is being recorded. Excel will record every step you make and document it in VBA language. What will not be recorded is the time passing as well as the mouse movement. So take your time and apply the steps you want to record. In this macro recording, I'm going to record the following steps: adjusting column and row width, centering the text in the cell, pressing Ctrl to select the columns and rows heading. I will press Ctrl+B to change the font to bold, center the data I have and adding a background color as well as borders. At the end of the list, I will add a function to find the maximum value. Type in the equal sign, max, then tap stop to choose the function and select the data in the column, and so on. When finished, click on the Stop Recording button in the Developer tab. Now click on the Macros button. A Macro Manager window will appear. Here you will see all the macros in the workbook. You can run them, edit, delete, and adjust them. Click now on the Edit button. Excel will take you to the Visual Basic Editor. Here you will see at the top the name of the macro we entered before, as well as the documentation of all steps we did in the VBA language. Here you can edit some of the VBA text. This will not be in the scope of this tutorial. Now let's close the VBA editor and go back to the Excel sheet. Click on Macro again and choose Options. Here you will assign a keyboard shortcut to run the macro as well as a description that help us understand what is recorded. For the keyboard shortcut, I recommend using capital letter, meaning you will press Ctrl plus Shift plus the letter you chose. This way you will have no conflict with the existing Excel keyboard shortcuts. For the description box, the more details you enter, the better. So now I will jump to a new sheet and run the macro there. Now to run a macro, you can go to the macro manager and click run. You can enter the keyboard shortcut you chose before. You can even attach the macro to an object. To do that, go to the Insert button on the Developer tab and choose Button, the option on the top left. As you can see, the mouse cursor changed to a black cross. This will allow you to draw the button you chose. Click anywhere on the sheet and draw the button. The Assign Macro Manager window will appear. Choose the macro and press OK. Every time you click on this button, the macro will be activated. You can do the same with other objects. Insert an object of your choosing, format it any way you like. Right-click on it and choose Assign Macro. Choose the macro you want and press OK. Now every time you click on it, the macro will run. The same can be done with pictures. Now what will happen if I delete a column, then apply the macro? As you can see, Excel performed all the recorded steps, but the starting point was recorded as an absolute, which means if you change the location of the data, the macro will be applied to the wrong cells. This is where the relative reference option comes into play. Click this option button to activate it. What this does is it makes the first cell you choose a relative reference. This means that after recording the macro, you can choose any cell you want. The steps you recorded will be applied relative to the starting cell. This can be within the sheet or even on another sheet. I will show you an example. I will record quickly a macro that formats my heading. I will assign Ctrl plus Shift plus F to activate. Now I can choose any cell I want and activate the macro. The macro will be applied to the range of cells after the cell I selected. A file that contains macro in Excel will change its extension and type. When you press Ctrl plus S to save the file, Excel will give you a hint on what happens and options to choose from. Click No and go to Save As. Choose the option Macro Enabled Workbook with the extension .xlm and then save the file. As you can see, the file is saved with the extension we chose. If you open it, Excel will show you a security warning that the macros are disabled. Click on Enable Content to enable the macros. Here you have to be careful when you download foreign documents containing macros from the net. They might contain malware, so think twice before activating the macros. Now do yourself a favor, think and make a list of all the situations where you can record a macro to save time and work efficiently, and then record and apply one. I hope you will enjoy applying your new skill. Thanks for watching.